Hello and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. Now we are going to talk about 5 OP builds for the current patch, but before we hop into that, let's talk about a question of the day. What's your OP build on your champion? Let me know in the comments below. Number 1 on this list is going to be Corki. I've teased this on Discord and talked to other people about it, and we have created an absolute abomination. Other content creators such as ImtheDoom are playing this build all the time and it's absolutely broken. And now let's talk about it. We want to go for Mana Immune for infinite mana and the cheap item spike, then for the Divine Sunderer, Riftmaker, Twin Guard, Void Staff and Mercury Threads. For runes we want Conqueror, Giant Slayer, Bone Plating and Mana Flow. Now let's talk about why those items. Mana Immune is very cheap and grants us infinite mana and high AD ratios. These AD ratios will then be used for our spells in absolute splendid manner. For next item, the Divine Sunderer, you want the HP from it and the Sheen passive. There's a slight adjustment to the build. You can go just Sheen and have an accelerated Riftmaker, but if you don't want to deal with this or dabble with that at all, you can just go for Divine Sunderer. With the Divine Sunderer, you have a lot of sustain and bonus damage, since the damage effect is only reduced to 7% of the enemy's maximum HP when it comes to Divine Sunderer compared to other alternatives. With that in mind, you'll have sustain, HP and everything you want, plus even more cooldown reduction or rather ability haste in your build, which makes life absolutely glorious as a Corki. Your third item, Riftmaker, grants you sustain on top of the Divine Sunderer and bonus true damage, which is calculated pre-mitigated damage. Now you fit the sweet spot of this build with the Twin Guard, the Amaranth Twin Guard. This item will make you unbelievably tanky with the bonus health you have from the previous items, making you basically unkillable. For the last item, you want Void Staff to make sure that you dish out the biggest damage possible. Since you have 0% crit, it doesn't really make sense to go for another crit item. I mean, you could flip it with an Infinity Edge, but well, it won't do too much for you. But you can also just go for Void Staff to have more penetration on your spells. Makes it super nice. The next champion on this list is Seraphine, and for Seraphine we have the following build: Luden's Echo, Staff of Flowing Water, Rebelion's Death Cap and Void Staff. If you are support, you'll obviously have only those items, but if you're not support, you'll go for Harmonic Echoes on top. For runes, you want Electrocute, Weakness, Bone Plating and Hunter Genius. Now for the build explanation. Luden's Echo is the best first mage item there is. It grants the highest damage, best AP, best mana, best everything in this slot. It will help you throughout the early game, helps you with damage and just makes it better for you to have impact early on compared to alternatives such as Archangel Staff. For your second item, you want Staff of Flowing Water. The important part in this build is also the Protect enchant, so you probably want to go for it second after your Luden's Echo. With this, your shield will have infinite value during teamfights, and with assassins going out of the meta, it will be way better for you and way harder for the enemy to apply Serpent's Fang. With those 3 items combined, you have already the core of your item build and are fully functional. CDR boots, Staff of Flowing Water, Protect enchant, Luden's Echo, and then you have infinite second abilities, which is the primary thing of your build. You just want to spam second ability as much as possible with the highest value. Now afterwards, obviously the Rebelion's Death Cap is a no-brainer because you want more AP, then the Void Staff, and then if you have the slots available, it's Harmonic Echoes just to have more healing in your kit. That way, you will out-sustain anything, even if people fully engage into you. If you react fast enough with Protect enchant and second ability, nobody is going to die because the shielding is just too big. And obviously, the enemy can't make sure that you miss your spells, or rather your second ability, because it's an AoE circle around you. So compared to a Lux, you can't really miss that one. It's way better compared to that one. Our next champion is Yone, and here we have the following items: Blade of the Rune King, Solari Charge Blade, Infinity Edge, Twin Guards, and Divine Sunderer. For your boots, usually Mercury Threads. For runes, you want Lethal Tempo, Vampirism, Bone Plating and Demolish. So for your items. In the jungle role, for Yone for example, Blade of the Rune King is a no-brainer for an item. You want this item to increase your jungle clear and overall sustain. Afterwards, with the Solari Charge Blade, you just want to get to the attack speed cap for your first ability and more damage generally in the sense of crit. With those 2 items under your belt, you now want to go for your Infinity Edge to complete your core item belt. You can obviously also just have Solari Charge Blade Infinity Edge, but then you'll be very, you'll lack sustain basically. Generally speaking, however, Blade of the Rune King, Solari Chargeblade and Infinity Edge is your core item build on Yone. And after this, Amaranth Twin Guard to double down on the resistances you already have and granting your health more value with the resistances you gain. Then Divine Sunderer to give you more health to make it even more valuable, and also generally being a great item on Yone thanks to the low cooldowns he has, so you can proc the Sheen consistently. Alternatively, you can swap around the Divine Sunderer to the place of the Amaranth Twin Guard and go for the Twin Guard a little bit later, because Yone's playstyle really depends on you being able to utilize the value of Twin Guard. If you have trouble getting the item proc before you go for something fancy, then obviously the item will have little value. Or if you believe that your fight will instantly end upon going in and going for a quick combo, then the item will not serve you well. Therefore, going for it later might just be better in your case. It just depends on how you pilot your champion and how you believe the item will suit you the best. The next build is one of the great winners of this patch, and it's Singed. Singed basically got an entire shift in his identity and being able to be played more often. People look at his win rate, and his win rate was very high early on the Chinese side or whatever, I don't really know the name. But generally speaking, Singed isn't the greatest champion unless you love chaos and usually not being able to lane. The only way Singed kills his laner usually is by the enemy being oblivious of what a Singed can do, so they'll get flipped into the tower level 2 and randomly die. It's literally the story of Singed, and yeah. But now Singed has a very good first item that provides him with health, tank stats and damage on top, and it's called Searing Crown. So for items, you want Searing Crown, Rylai's, Amaranth Twin Guard, Thornmail, Force of Nature and Mercury Treads. Obviously the latter tank items can be basically anything, or you can just go for a Riftmaker, it really depends. So alternatively, you can go for Searing Crown, Rylai's, Riftmaker, Amaranth Twin Guard and another tank item of your choice. For runes, Aftershock, Triumph, Bone Plating and Nimbus Cloak. Now let's talk about the items. Searing Crown grants you health, resistance and armor and bonus damage. And since you're spreading your poison everywhere, this will help you clearing your jungle and just be impactful in team fights. With the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, you'll have AoE impact in the form of utility with slows on the enemy champion plus some AP under your belt. Now you can either go for the Riftmaker or the Amaranth Twin Guard. It really depends on what you need. With this, you have even more defensive stats in the form of either health, sustain, true damage, or tankiness. It really depends on what you want to go, which then makes your champion overall even stronger because you are allowed to stay in the fight longer. After this, with more tanky items under your belt, you basically become a menace and your only purpose is to run through the enemy team, apply your utility with the slows, and make sure that you fling in the high priority target, and then your job is done to keep on running. So for basically the list of what you have to do, you want to run into the enemy team, spread all your poison, fling the high priority target and keep on running and keep your poison everywhere so the enemy cannot escape and cannot get anything done because they can't move. Lovely. The last champion on this list is going to be Gwen, and we are talking about a jungle Gwen build. Here we have Nash's Tooth, Riftmaker, Rabadon's Deathcap, Amaranth Twin Guard, Infinity Orb and Mercury Treads. For runes, Conqueror, Giant Slayer, Bone Plating and Nimbus Cloak. Now let's talk about our items. We want Nash's Tooth for a quick jungle clear. Our champion is a hyper-scaling jungler, or rather champion, and we love to get in gold faster. With that in mind, we usually don't want to make too many proactive plays early on unless they're free, so basically around our Ghost cooldown, Ult cooldown or any free opportunity that we see. Then afterwards we have the Riftmaker, which will grant us even more damage, sustain and just overall survivability. Damage wise, we scale really hard, or we spike really hard on our third item, Rabadon's Deathcap. With this item in our pockets, we are going to destroy people with the third charge of our ultimate ability. Really, nothing can survive that one. And after this, with the Amaranth Twin Guard, we have a lot of tankiness. Our second ability with this item combined will grant us enough time to get it fully charged, and then we can just not die because we have too much sustain. Alternatively, we can pre-proc it with our ultimate and then have it as we go in, so you realistically never get caught without it being available, unless really bad things happen. After this, the Infinity Orb to just even have more damage on our spells, just to make sure it crits, have more pen. Like, you know, you don't really need Void stuff on this champion, but otherwise you can also go Void stuff if you really think you need it, depending on the enemy magic resistance values. And then it's Mercury Treads, because all of my friends hate crowd control. And that's it for today's video. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel and come back for more. See you soon.